Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio/The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. But let's move on to our next topic, and that is Luke Walton. Luke Walton dropping some big comments about tanking.
Some knowledge.
No, maybe not knowledge, but just dropping
yeah.
an opinion.
There you go.
Because Sam Hinkie would disagree otherwise because the process has been working. Luke Walton coming out and pretty much saying the Lakers will not tank because it pretty much sets a bad precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky, before we jump into the question about is Luke Walton right about tanking, can you please read us his comments about tanking?
What Luke said was, I don't believe in it. I believe in trying to play the right way and have a culture you're going to try to win no matter what. If you start losing on purpose, I think the basketball gods come back to get you in the long run, and good things aren't going to work out for you. We try to do things the right way around here. We're going to play to win. And he goes on and talks about Philly, but that was the main thing. Him saying, we're going to play to win here in LA.
So, taking all that in, should the Lakers, A, be tanking, and then B, is Luke Walton right about tanking? Because Ricky's saying no, yet this was the guy saying, well, you don't want to be tanking, but you want to get that top 3 pick.
Well, for their situation, it's, you want the top 3 pick, but spoiler alert, this team doesn't need to tank to get that top 3 pick. They're not very good
Define
this year.
tanking. I mean, that's intentionally losing versus playing a roster that,
or just
may
being bad.
not be able to win.
You can just be
or
bad.
you just don't have the talent on the floor to win a game.
And the thing about the Lakers this year, the great thing about the Lakers this year, they can put out a roster that won't win and still try to win and most likely lose. The thing that I think
that's called being a bad team.
And that's what they are. And the one thing that I get to, and this is tanking overall, is if you deliberately tank and say, we are going to lose games. It is not going to be fun, but it will get better. I just think that does a disservice to the fans because you're basically saying, yeah, you know what? I still want you to come. I still want you to buy tickets and buy jerseys, but we're going to be horrible and we're going to suck. And the product that's out there on the court will not be worth the money you're paying to go to that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one interpretation of tanking, and I can respect that. But I think that I think Luke Walton's absolutely wrong. I think this is a team that should not steer away from the tank. I think that your best bet to become a real contender is to
turn into the tank.
Turn in, yeah, you turn into the tank.
Go with the skid.
Yep, absolutely. Look, this is a team that has about 5 or 6 young guys who can really benefit from this time on the court. And like Ricky said, they're probably not going to win a whole lot of games together. But in order to be as bad as they were last season, they have to go 1-31 to finish out the season. Probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're not talking about we're not saying they're going to get the number 1 pick.
No, but they got to get the number 3 pick.
And they
don't get a pick.
And they could possibly do that, knowing with how the NBA draft lottery goes, no matter where they finish, they'll get the top 3.
If David Stern comes back, I'm going to choke him.
But the one thing, I love these comments by Luke Walton because it's basically him saying, I have a young team here.
Yep.
I don't want to, it's kind of like, I don't want to put poison in the water and get these young players that we already have used to losing. I want to teach them the right way. I want to teach them how to win, the hard work, playing to win. And you know what? Whatever player we get in the draft, we get in the draft.
But you might not get a player in the draft is the concern. And I think that it's the right thing to say publicly. I hope he doesn't mean it because I think that the best chance for this team to be successful is to get that draft pick this year, is to continue building because this is a team that doesn't have all the pieces on their roster yet. So they need to go out there, get a top 3 pick, and then add a couple people in free agency because this is a roster that we've seen have moments early this season where it was like, holy shit, this is potential. Luke Walton here is going to work out for the Lakers team, and I think he will. I just think that they peaked really high and really early, and we saw it. And now it's like, all right, we're back to reality. We're back to where we kind of expect them to be at the not the very, very bottom, but like pretty bad.
Right now,
we see like little glimmers of hope here and there.
Right now, they'd be the 2nd pick.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like the last 4 years, 27 wins, 21 wins, 17 wins. Like this is a team that's not been trending in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And if you look at other teams who have had similar records over that time period, where are they at now compared to where are you at? And I know Kobe is an extenuating circumstance because no one expected him to, have that injury and then just completely not be able to rehab correctly or, be around zero talent. So he couldn't win games. But the point being, as long as you have an end goal in mind that all your players can see, I think you're fine with it. The problem is when you get into a Sixers situation for the past couple of years where it was like, yeah, there's no point in me trying because it doesn't matter and you don't want me to win. Like, you want to avoid that. I completely agree with you. You can't go out there and publicly say, nah, we're going out there to lose 31 straight games. Like, that's our goal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, with players like Brandon Ingram, who's trying to develop, D'Angelo Russell, who's trying to develop, same with Julius Randle, Larry Nance, Clarkson as well. I mean, they're really the only guys that if you go out and say, hey, we're going to start tanking, and the only guy that's probably going to benefit is Lou Williams because he's probably going to play out of his mind so he gets off that team, and Swaggy P so he can get off that team as well. They're going to try their best to get off that team,
possible.
and if they're if their main goal is to win, then they're most likely going to want to get off that team. But I agree. I don't think the Lakers should be tanking, and I think this is the right thing to say for Luke Walton. I think that they should be doing their best to get that top 2 pick because currently, coming out with a mock draft soon, stay tuned, where the Lakers sit, and they're getting a possibly game-changing point guard to get there. So, I mean, looking at that, I mean, and a point guard that is small enough or is big enough that can even play the 2 where you can flip him. I mean, his
Lonzo Ball's comparison is Jason Kidd, which is just crazy to think about.
And D'Angelo's a great scorer too, and you could flip him as well. So, I mean, I don't think that Luke Walton should be saying, yes, our goal is to tank, our goal is to get a top 3 pick, but I think their goal behind the scenes should definitely be like, hey, Jerry, we're gonna, or one of the bosses, I forget, Mitch Kupchak, one of the GMs, or
Genie.
We're gonna be like,
Phil aren't together anymore, though. It's sad.
No, sad. I don't care. Their goal is probably like, we're going to try to get the top 3 pick, and I think it's smart to do that behind the scenes and not come out and say we're gonna tank. And I think that while he is right to do it the way he did, I think that teams should kind of embrace the tank because we've seen what the 76ers can do and what the 76ers have been able to do, where you get a ton of draft picks and just pick the best player available because one of those, hey, they might become a star. And we've really seen the emergence of a star here so far. And, not saying that none of the players on the Lakers currently, like D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Ingram, cannot become a star, but, it's going to take time for those guys to develop, and you need time and just, hey.
In a draft class that's as loaded as this one with the top-end potential, I think you absolutely do everything you can to get that pick.
Well, and the thing that I look at is the team that Luke Walton came from obviously plays a huge part into how he's thinking, because I look at Golden State, where he did come from, and this was a team that during their kind of low time of, I'm looking from just 2009 through, 2012, they were 10, 13, 12, and 13 in the West. Then they were 6-6, and then boom, 1-1. And that was the Warriors are here, and this is the Warriors we know. And you can look at that 2009 draft. The Warriors had a 7th overall pick. Who did they take? Oh, the unanimous MVP in Steph Curry. So it's one of those things where, just looking at that alone, I know the Lakers, they need a top 3 pick because they won't have one if they don't.
Yep.
But it's one of those things where even in future drafts, it's Luke Walton kind of in these comments maybe saying, you don't need a number 1 pick to definitely get the number 1 guy. We've seen bust. In that same draft, Hasheem Thabeet went number 2. Where's Hasheem Thabeet now? Johnny Flynn went 6. Where's he now? 5 was Ricky Rubio. What are we saying about Ricky Rubio now? So it's one of those things where obviously you need to scout and you need to do your due diligence in the draft. Now,
one team has Jerry West doing that for you, though.
And that's the thing, where with the Lakers, their biggest problem is the management. Notice how teams with good management draft good players or find good players. The teams that don't have good management.
D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle aren't good players. They just might not be stars.
I'm not saying they're not good players, but it's one of those things. Look at the teams that have good management. They're the ones that are set up for success. And the big thing with this Laker team, that as soon as Daddy Bust passed away and sent this team to his children, it's been a complete 180 of what this team has been. And now I know Dave mentioned that we didn't expect Kobe to kind of fall off the cliff like he did. But it's one of those things where you got to
Achilles kind of did that.
You got to look at management in a way, and I hope that this management looks at Luke Walton and goes, "We're going to include you in on the process," because I think he'll be able to help them and say, "This is a guy that fits my system. This is a guy that is I'm looking at to help." No, I wasn't going to say the process.
You did.
Well,
did.
We'll get to the process, and honestly, I think now is probably the perfect time because I think we've summed up exactly what we feel. Because the Lakers should be doing their best to get into the top 3. I think we agree with that. And yes, the Lakers do have downfalls, but I don't think the Lakers are screwed per se because I think the current way that they are put with Genie and Kupchak, I think that the Lakers do have the ability to be great. I think that management right now is perfectly fine, especially with the coaching that they do have.
And I'd rather have Luke Walton set up the winning culture than tank on purpose to get a rock star player. I'd rather have that culture in place.
Yeah, I mean, ideal world, they would have been able to keep the tank commander, but Luke Walton was available.
You stole my joke.
So
you stole my joke.
They had to jump on it.
I was about to say, if they wanted to keep the tank, if they wanted to keep the tank era or aura around, they would have kept the tank commander around. But anyways, that is pretty much going to wrap up all our feelings because I think we pretty much summed it up pretty perfectly. Thank you. Oh, shit. Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.